Before restarting the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Nikolai began to regain consciousness and could not understand whether he was in this world or the next. There was something in his mouth that prevented him from swallowing. His eyes felt like they were filled with sand, and his eyelids were so heavy that they could barely open. The bright light hit his eyes, everything around was white. The man thought, maybe I have already died and am in heaven. If everything was so white all around, and it's so quiet. But then, why can't I wake up? My head feels like it's cast iron. I can't feel my body at all. Suddenly he saw a young girl. She was leaning over him and asked him something. How you feel? Can you hear me? Blink if you can. Nikolai succeeded not only in blinking, but also in mumbling something like yes. Then the girl called someone and people bustled around him, began to take out the hated tube from his mouth and turn off some sensors which were hung all over his body. The man exhaled a sigh of relief. Phew, so I'm alive. Entered the gray-haired doctor in a funny hat, examined the patient and smiled. Well, Nikolai, everything is going according to plan. Now you are awake. The operation was more than successful, though it lasted for 6 hours. There were many concerns. In such cases, the risk of rejection of an alien organ is very high. But you were incredibly lucky. The donor's heart took root in your body like one of your own. I can't even believe such a success. Consider that today is your 2nd birthday. Now you will live another 100 years. The man smiled weakly. Thank you, Vitaly Sergeyevich. It's all your golden hands. A low bow to the one who gave me his flaming motor. And who is he, tell me? It's very important to me. His noble deed is hard to overestimate. The doctor immediately frowned. Unfortunately, I have no right to divulge such confidential information. And don't ask me such questions again. It's not ethical. Be glad that you survived. Now everything will go well. You still have a period of rehabilitation, but in the meantime you rest. I'll come and see you later. Nicholas sighed and leaned back on the pillows. He put his hand on his chest and listened. Knock, 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 as native. But it was someone else's, or was it mine now? There was an incomprehensible and some uneasy feeling inside, because he was alive now, and someone had died, and a part of that person was now in him. I wonder, thought Nicholas, will my character change now, or maybe new habits will appear? And my donor? Is he a man or a woman? How old was he? How had he lived? He's not a stranger to me now, it seems. Suddenly, the man remembered about Sonechka, and tears came to his eyes. He misses his 6-year daughter terribly, unbearably, though he knew that she was in her grandmother's safe hands, but still longed for her. So I wanted to cling to my baby, breathe the scent of childhood and kiss my favorite fragrant cheeks. Unwillingly, the memories of his youth came flooding back, and his whole life flashed before his eyes. Nikolai grew up in a prosperous family. His father had his own shoe repair shop, a small but stable income, and his mother had her own grocery store. Kolya grew up well off, had the best of everything, as he was the only and late child in the family. They shook and dusted over him. After school, he graduated from university and went into the shoe business, just like his father, but not repairing but selling. He did not pursue quantity, but quality. Everyone in town knew that his stores had excellent shoes, and even with a guarantee. Slowly things began to happen, because to start his father gave his beloved son his savings. Soon Kolya married a lovely girl, Veronica. She was a stranger from a simple village family. The parents were not at all against such a daughter-in-law, for they themselves were from the people. On the contrary, they were pleased that it meant she would be a good mother and hostess. The girl was thin as a stalk, and she impressed the lad with her tender smile and large, sad gray eyes. The newlyweds lived harmoniously. They hardly ever quarreled. Vera tried to please Kolya in everything. She was an ideal wife and hostess. The only thing was that she was often very ill. It is worth a breeze, already a cold, only where a draught, problems with the kidneys. Years passed, and the couple still could not have a child. Doctors recommended Verochka not to have a baby due to her precarious health. Kolya loved her, pitied her, and did not insist. He found out about his wife's pregnancy when it was already 4 months old. Vera deliberately hid it from everyone. She knew they would persuade him to stop, and she wanted so badly to become a mommy, to finally kiss her cheeks, to cradle her baby, and to give her all her love. When his wife was taken away to the maternity hospital, Kolya could not find peace. Some bad, oppressive feeling did not give peace. He smoked one after another of cigarettes and walked up and down the hospital corridor, praying as best he could. The news he was told 9 hours later killed him. Vera died on the operating table without regaining consciousness, and his daughter was miraculously saved. It seemed that life was over at that moment, and everything faded. Nicholas grieved terribly, but for a moment did not doubt whether he could cope with his daughter or not. It was a matter of honor, his little girl, his little blood. Fortunately, Sonetchka was calm, not capricious, as if she understood that her father had it hard enough. Vera's mother, Katerina Ulyanovna, helped him cope with the baby at first. She came for a month from the village and taught her son-in-law all the wisdom of caring for a baby, and then at the first call rushed to help, a good woman, whatever you say. Sonetchka is 6 years old now. Nicholas himself for a long time, at the first year, complained of his heart, then stiffened, then shudders, then flutters as if it is about to stop. The man got short of breath. It became difficult to do basic household chores. One day, he got absolutely sick and was taken by ambulance to the hospital. There, after examination, it turned out that he had inoperable heart complications and urgent need for a heart transplant. But it is one thing to say and one thing to do. The search for a suitable donor often lasted for months or even years, and many died before the operation, and no amount of money in the world could help. In addition, the business also demanded attention, and Nicholas could not properly focus on the treatment, so it dragged on, as they say, until the last. A month ago, he was again hospitalized. He called Catherine Ulyanovna. She immediately rushed over and took Sonia to her house in the village, since his daughter had no one to leave her. Nikolai was getting worse and worse. Drips and medications were no longer able to save him, and suddenly it was a true miracle. He was told that there was a donor suitable for him according to his criteria, and they were preparing to perform an urgent surgery. He recovered, he would live, everything was ahead of him. And that man would never open his eyes again. Only his heart was pounding and pounding, as if reminding him of that all the time. When Nikolai was discharged, he again went to the head doctor and tried to find out the identity of the donor, but he was refused and even scolded, saying, "Why do you make us commit a crime? It is not supposed to disclose, and that's it." Nevertheless, the idea was firmly lodged in the man's mind and did not give him any peace day or night. The first thing he did when he arrived at his mansion, Nicholas called Catherine Ulyanovna, made sure that his daughter is all right, and spoke to her on the phone for a long time. The girl was raring to go home. "Daddy, it's good that you've recovered. When are you coming to get me? I missed you so much, and I want to go home. At grandmother's is good, of course, but home is still better." The man could hardly hold back tears and persuaded his daughter, "Just be patient a little longer, my baby. Listen to Grandma Katya. Help her with the household. I will heal a little more, and then I will come for you. All right? I miss you a lot too, kitten." Next came the calls from work. While Nikolai was sick, everything at the firm was run by his deputy, Vladimir Fedorovich Polyanov. He was a good professional, no doubt, but the man, not so much. Leading specialist in procurement Alexander began to tell the chief what happened in his absence. "I'm glad you're already better, Nikolai Ivanovich, and I look forward to when you're back at the helm. Otherwise, we will surely go down with Polyanov, and my gut has never failed me before." Nicholas became alarmed. "And what happened?" "Only yesterday we communicated with the deputy. He told me nothing of the kind." Sasha hesitated. "I do not like to knock, but there's a thing." Twice Vladimir Fedorovich almost made a deal for the purchase of low-quality Chinese material at a throwaway price. He wanted to sell it as premium leather. It's a good thing I caught on in time and didn't sign anything, or else we would have gone bust for sure. And the other day I ran into him by chance in a cafe. He was talking to Safanov, remember him? Our main competitor from Obovnitsa Company. What could be their connection? It's not good. You go ahead, get well soon, and I'll keep my ears open. Nicholas was taken aback. It is strange indeed. Vladimir did not tell me anything about it. Thank you for the warning. All hope is in you, Sasha. I trust you. That's it. We'll be in touch. The next day, Nikolai decided to take a leisurely walk in the park. The doctor said he needed to walk so that his heart would gradually get used to the stress. He watched the fallen leaves rustling under his feet, so cheerful and colorful, how the breeze rustles, and enjoyed the walk. Suddenly, a little boy about 7 years old ran up to him. He was so funny in blue overalls and a cap on his back. It was obvious that he was not from a wealthy family, but clean, and his eyes were laughing with a twinkle. The child held out a note to the man and shouted, "This will help you find out the truth," and rushed off briskly into the bushes. Only his heels sparkled. Nicholas did not understand anything. Unfolded crumpled piece of notebook. There was an address written there. Pavlsnaya Street, House 6, red fence. And that's all. It was not clear from whom or to whom it was addressed. But for some reason the little boy seemed to Nikolai to someone very similar, and to whom he did not understand. His heart began to beat faster, and the man, overcoming weakness, still went to the address. He did not understand why he was going there. The house was small but well-maintained, and a dog barked in the yard. He knocked on the gate. He was terribly embarrassed. What was he going to say now? That the boy in the park had given him this address? Funny, isn't it? The door was opened by a plump, ruddy old woman with a neat, short haircut. Nicholas began to explain, confused. "Hello, my name is Nikolai Ivanovich Myronenko. I went to ask you a question." But the woman did not let him finish. Her eyes moistened. She grabbed his hand and hurriedly led him into the house. "Well, hello, Kolenka, my son, you've come. And I was wondering whether you'd come or not. Come in and get undressed. I'll put the kettle on the stove." Nikolai just sat on the chair like a cue, not understanding anything. "Woman, are you delirious? What son am I to you? I know and remember my parents, they are dead, but you have nothing to do with them. What are you talking about? I should probably go. I must have the wrong address. I'm sorry." What a madhouse. But the woman suddenly burst into tears. "Wait a minute. Listen to me, I beg you. Your own brother gave you his heart, whether you realize it or not. And he died 3 weeks ago. Here's a photo of him, my Ruslan, and I am your mother. My name is Valentina. I gave birth to you and to him too. You are twins, you understand." Nicholas only blinked a lot. "I don't think so, to tell you the truth. I grew up in the Myronenko family. They had a store and a shoe shop. And now I'm a businessman myself. I also do shoes. I lived with them, grew up, as long as I remember. There's a photo where my mom holds me infant. How is that possible?" The woman cried again and began to tell me, "You see, my son, I myself am an orphan. I was brought up in an orphanage. No relatives, no one in the world. After I left the orphanage, I went to work at a construction site as a house painter. I lived in a dormitory, so we hired a rich guy to build an apartment. His name was Mark, young and handsome. He looked at me like that, just burned right through. And I was young and inexperienced, so I fell in love with him with no memory. He lured me with sweet speeches and flowers and candy, and seduced me. And then it was just like in the TV series. I'm pregnant, and he immediately pretended that he had nothing to do and did not know me. What am I to him? A workforce, not his equal. I was pregnant until the last hiding. At the construction site ran, bags of cement lifted, and eaten with twins. Where would I go with two in a dormitory? They would have kicked me out at once, and I couldn't handle 2 kids by myself. I cried and cried. I didn't know what to do. I had to reach for the rope. And then a friend advised me to turn to these businessmen, Myronenko. They are childless, everyone knew it, they really wanted a baby. So I fell at their feet, told them everything as it is. They agreed to take the baby, they chose you. They had a lot of money. All the documents were drawn up quietly, and they took a receipt from me that I never, under any pretext, will not appear in their family in your life. They said, you gave the child up, and that's it, forget about it. They gave me a lot of money. At least I bought Ruslan everything he needed, a crib, a stroller, and baby clothes. That's how they got you, Kolenka. I gave you up myself with my own hands to strangers. Then I remembered you often. I cried. My life was slowly getting better. I got happily married a year later. But what's the big deal? It was too late to be sorry. So you and your brother lived apart, without knowing each other. I didn't risk telling my husband the truth either, so he died without knowing anything. He loved Ruslan like he was his own. He never hurt him. My son was a good guy, kind, sympathetic, and simple. And if anyone was in trouble, he would always help out and help. He married a good girl and worked in a cab. 3 years ago, he decided that after his death, all of his organs could be used as donor organs. I mean, that's how he felt. 3 weeks ago, my son crashed to his death. He couldn't control the car. He was very tired, fell asleep at the wheel. Even now, I do not believe it. I am still waiting for the door to open, and Ruslan will shout as always, "Hi, Mommy, I'm home." And the woman sobbed bitterly with grief and melancholy. Nicholas was taken aback. I'm sorry. Losing a son is a terrible grief. And this boy, who stuck me a note in the park, who is he? Valentina sighed. It's my grandson, Artemka. It turns out your nephew. Ruslan's son. Now he is almost an orphan. I don't know how to tell him. He keeps thinking that daddy's gone away and will be back soon. He's been asking me questions like a knife in the heart. Nikolai is confused again. Where is the child's mother? Did Ruslan have a wife? Valentina again sobbed. Statochka was such a good woman, an accountant at one firm. She was always so concerned about the work, often took home reports. She thought they would appreciate her efforts. Yeah, right. So she was set up by her shrewd boss, hung all the dogs, was accused of fraud and given 5 years. Like she made a funny deal and pocketed all the money. Where's the money? It's a clean swindle. At the trial, her son almost jumped on them. Everyone knows that Sveta was not capable of such a thing, and it was impossible to prove anything. So now she is in prison for no reason, and she is also very ill and has contracted tuberculosis. The doctors say it is a severe form, and she will not live long. Some kind of evil fate has befallen her son's family. Only misfortune and misfortune. And that bastard boss of hers is getting rich, riding around in expensive cars, changing mistresses in droves, and he doesn't care about anything. How the earth can carry such scoundrels. So Ruslan took 3 shifts and worked nights as a taxi driver, like he was crazy. He went to get a good lawyer to help get Sveta out of jail. But he didn't have time. Nikolai couldn't digest so much information at once. He asked him point blank, "How did you know who your son's heart was transplanted into?" "This is classified information. How many times I tried the chief doctor. He just would not discuss it." An elderly woman said, "I have a good friend at the hospital. She works in the surgical department. She helped me. I begged her in and out. She took pity on me. And when I read the name, I felt sick. It's unbelievable. A brother gave his brother his heart, saved his life without knowing it. So, what do you want from me? Money? I don't understand. You gave me up yourself, and I'm sorry. I'm not ready to call you mother. I was raised by another woman and loved. So, why do you want to find me now?" After all these years, Valentina looked down and cried, "I'm sorry, son. Maybe you were right. Of course, I shouldn't have done what I did. I promised not to meddle in your life. We're strangers. I can see that we're strangers. I just felt sorry for Artemka. I can't help it. Everything came at once. His father died. His mother died in prison. I'm already old. I'm afraid I won't have time to raise my grandson. So I thought maybe you could help. He's no stranger to you. He's your nephew after all. Sorry to have bothered you. Goodbye, son, and forgive me for everything." Nikolai muttered, "Why are you so quick?" "Forgive me for my rudeness. It just came out. Did I say that I would not help? I just need to think everything over. You understand, I myself am still in shock. In 1 second to find out that my donor is my brother and his wife on the verge, and you are my mother, my head is spinning from all this. Give me some time to come to my senses and figure out how to proceed. I will find out everything about Artem's mother, and I will tell you everything. Your son's heart beats in me. I now have an eternal gratitude. So I won't give up. I'll help you. Don't doubt it. We're not strangers at all. I just haven't come to my senses yet. I can't understand everything at once." Nicholas did not sleep well. He dreamed of this little boy with cheerful, mischievous eyes. What a nephew. What will really happen to him now? The grandmother is already at an age, and everything is unclear with his mother. I pity the boy. We must find out everything tomorrow, and not put it off for too long. It's amazing how abruptly life has changed after the operation. So many relatives showed up at once, and the mother. I can't get my head around it. But now it is clear why the heart took root so well. It really is my own heart. Oh, Ruslan, thank you, little brother. Nikolai used all his connections and got a review of Svetlana's case, and himself, despite his wild weakness, went to her firm and began to question everyone. He talked to the new accountant, the secretary. Such people always know and see more than all the other employees. Paying a little money, Nikolai managed to get reports and papers for the period when Sveta allegedly committed fraud. He took them to an expert handwriting expert who conducted an independent examination, which found that Svetlana's signature on those very documents was skillfully forged by someone. And the secretary said that at that time, a certain Vladimir Polyanov had made a big illegal deal, allegedly because of Svetlana. According to him, he did not suspect anything, and shrewd accountants started all this to get rich. Nicholas was shocked. This is his deputy. It turns out that he simultaneously managed on all fronts. Just Nikolai wondered where Vladimir got such a posh car last model, and even had his own yacht. Even he could not afford it, since most of the profits again put into circulation. Nicholas also chose the investigator carefully, the most detail-oriented and incorruptible, and soon the flywheel began to turn. The case was reviewed. Svetlana was found innocent. She was acquitted of all charges and released. But it was too late. Sveta was almost dying and was immediately transferred from the prison hospital to the intensive care unit. Though the best doctors took care of her, there was nothing that could be done. Her lungs were attacked by tuberculosis, and she had a terrible cough with blood every half hour, could hardly stand up, had a fever. Nikolai was not allowed to see her as the disease was highly contagious, but he was given her farewell note. Kolya brought it to Valentina. At least Artem was in school. They sat in the kitchen, unfolded the paper with trembling hands, and began to read. Nikolai, I do not know you personally, but I heard that it was you who interceded and did the impossible, freeing me from prison. It's a pity it's too late. But all the same, I am immensely grateful to you that my son will not grow up with the stigma of a convict mother. After all, I am not guilty of anything. It was all arranged by Vladimir Fedorovich Polyanov. He supervised our firm and our director. It's one gang of leks, and I was only a pawn and a bargaining chip in their unfair game. I swear on my son's health, I did not sign anything. I'm not crazy. It's all a fake. I said it 100 times in court, but they didn't hear me. I wish these people could feel in their own skin all that I went through in those prisons. And you, Nicholas, I beg you on my knees, I implore you, don't leave your nephew to my son. My mother-in-law is a very good woman, but she is already old. It will be hard for her to raise her grandson alone. After all, my Ruslan is not in this world either. One consolation is that soon we will see him there in heaven. Bury me next to my husband. It's very important for me. My son, Artemishka. Mommy loves you very much. You must always remember that. If I'm gone, listen to Grandma Valia and Uncle Kolya. They're your closest and dearest. And I will watch over you from heaven with Daddy and keep you safe. Give you a big hug, my sweetest baby. They both cried. Valentina burst into tears, and Nicholas was silent, swallowing his tears. He almost shouted, "Why is everything so unfair in life, and nothing can be done? Why should Artem be left without a mother who loves him madly, just like my daughter, Sonetka? Why do children suffer so much?" Valentina asked softly, "Do you have a daughter? You have not spoken of her, my son. Would you mind if we met her?" Nikolai answered, "She is at her grandmother Katya, my mother-in-law, in the village. I took her when I was very sick. Soon it will be necessary to take her away. She's already longed for me, and my wife died in childbirth, so we live with our daughter alone. She is the dearest thing I have. Every day Sonia calls, chirping like a bell. So why should I be against communication? Your family, no matter how you look at it." The very next day, Sveta died in the hospital. There was a funeral. Nicholas took care of everything, and the woman was escorted to her last journey with dignity. Valentina insisted that Artem knew nothing about his mother's death. She was madly sorry for her grandson, but Nicholas was firmly against it. He explained to the woman, "This is wrong. Give your son a chance to say goodbye to his mother. You must understand and accept it. Otherwise, he will not forgive me or you this betrayal and lie. And he must be told about his father's death. I don't know how to do it, but he must. After all, his parents will not come back and rise from the dead, and the child will live with false hopes. And can you imagine what it will be like for him to find out later that he was tricked, simply lied to his face? No, you can't do that." Nicholas, softly, as quietly as he could, tried to explain what had happened. He said that his father and mother were now in heaven. They, like angels, were protecting him and loved him. Only he could not see them. And he felt a lump coming up to his throat, and his brother's heart was beating fast in his chest, as if to support him in this difficult conversation. "But you should know, Artemka, I am your real uncle, and Grandma Valia. We will always be with you. You are not alone. We are together, understand? You don't have to be a man. Be strong and hold on. But right now to cry. Sit by your mommy's side. That's what you need. Then, when you grow up, you'll remember that sad moment as the most important one in your life. I have a daughter, Sometka. She, like you, lost her mommy, and she misses her too. But we get through it together, and you will. Come here, nephew, let me give you a hug." The boy trustfully snuggled up to Nicholas, and he felt so warm inside, as if he had hugged his own son. And Ruslan's heart beating in his chest confirmed it again, thump, thump, thump. The baby cried bitterly and sat quietly beside his mother's coffin for a long time. He was telling her something, and she seemed to hear him. He was frightened when he asked his grandmother, "Grandma, what if I put a high ladder and climb to the sky? I still will not see my mommy and daddy anymore? Never, never? Not even for a second?" Valentina sobbed and answered, "No, granddaughter, you won't see them. They're very high on a cloud, looking at you. And they love their little boy very much." Nicholas did not let go of his child, and already knew for sure that he would take Artem to him. He felt a tremendous responsibility for the boy's fate, exactly the same as for the fate of his own daughter. Now he had 2 children, and that was it. A week after Svetlana's funeral, Nikolai came to the village to pick up his daughter. Seeing her father, Sonia immediately wanted to jump on his neck as usual, but Nikolai only groaned and put her in his arms, began to kiss, hug, and stroke the curly long curls. Sanj in the village was like a mischievous boy, in ridiculous pants and oversized jacket, all messed up but happy and tanned. The man even laughed. "Daughter, you look like a chimney sweep. Where is my little princess? What is this little houseboy? Come on, clean up, wash your face, change your clothes, and let's go. Katerina Ulyanovna, my dear, thank you for looking after me. How's Sonia? She hasn't been very naughty, has she? I'm sorry it took me so long to get her. I was just weak after the operation, and everything came at once, such a whirlwind. I still have my head spinning. The old woman laughed. No way, Kolenka. My granddaughter is only a joy for me. It's more fun with her, and time runs fast. Her cheeks have turned rosy on homemade milk and sour cream. They brought her here from the city, like a wilted flower, and now she's glowing. We get on well with her, milk the cow Marusha together, tettle hay, and go to the forest for cloudberries. She's a good girl, she's bright. How are you? Thank God everything ended well. I prayed under the icons that he did not take my granddaughter's father away from her. She is already without a mother. She does not want to be an orphan. Don't just stand there, wash your hands and sit at the table. I won't let you go like that, I'll feed you. And you can take homemade presents, milk, sausage, and strawberry jam. Nicholas devoured potatoes in jacket and pickled mushrooms with sauerkraut, and praised everything. Oh, and my mother-in-law is a woman of peace. You're a good woman, Ekaterina Ulyanovna. Thank you for everything. I wanted to consult with you. In my life this month has happened so much. Just my head is spinning. So listen to everything and discuss how to do what I need to do right, in good conscience. And the man told his mother-in-law everything, and that his mother found him, and about his brother, and about his nephew. They had a long heart-to-heart talk. Katerina Ulyanovna thought, weighed everything, then said, the fact that you want to adopt a boy, it's a noble cause, I approve. You just do not, as always, with a jump and quietly, let the children get used to each other. First, bring the boy to visit. As for your mother, don't be angry with her, Kolenka. It's her sin. It's hers to live with. It's not for you or for me to judge. You know she couldn't have done otherwise if she dared to do such a thing. But you did not suffer. She did not give you to an orphanage, but to a good family with money. I remember your parents well. They were wonderful, decent people. You were adored. You were not deprived of love. So what's wrong? If she found you, it means she feels bad. She misses you. You do not push her away, support, try to understand and forgive and accept everything as it is. Nicholas cheered up. Thank you, Ekaterina Ulyanovna, for your advice, a wise woman, and for a delicious dinner. Well, let's go with our daughter. The way is not a long one. They said goodbye warmly, and Nicholas took his daughter home. Sonechka was happy, chirped all the way, amused her father with stories about her adventures in the village. A couple of days later, Nikolai invited Artem and his grandmother to visit him at his home. He was worried how Sonia would perceive the boy, whether she would be jealous, and the nephew would probably feel uncomfortable in a strange house. The man carefully prepared, bought, and cooked a turkey in the oven, and had gifts and sweets for the children. At first the little boy was a little shy, but merry-go-lucky Sonia quickly got him going. The children became friends and enthusiastically began to collect puzzles, and then raced around the house and play spinning. Artem, probably for the first time since the funeral, began to laugh, and at least a little forgotten. Nicholas breathed a sigh of relief. While the children were having fun, the man had a long and quiet conversation with his mother. She told him about his brother, how he grew up, how he met his first love, and how he was looking forward to seeing his son in the world. And Nicholas showed his mother his childhood photos and photos of his wife, how he felt bad without her, how hard it was to bring up his daughter alone, no matter how you look at it. But the girl still lacks a mother's hand and motherly caress. Toward the end of the evening, the owner of the house decided to delight the children with a surprise. He shouted, "Kids, come here. I have a surprise for you. Here I'm giving you both roller skates, and I suggest on Sunday to go to the park to learn to skate." There was a squeal of joy, and Sonia and Artem rushed to unpack the gifts. The happiness was boundless. Valentina just threw up her hands. "Kolya, it's such an expensive gift, thank you. You will spoil my grandson, and then what will I do with him on my pension? You won't have to raise Artem on your own. What about me? I was thinking, why don't you come and live with me for good? What's the point of being lonely together? It'll be more fun for me and Sonia, and it would be easier for me. I'm away at work before I had to get out. Hire a nanny for a few hours, so that my daughter is not alone at home until I return. And this way you'll look after her. So you think about my offer until the weekend, okay? We're family now, aren't we, Mom? I'm not angry, and I'm not offended. We have to move on." The woman was taken aback. "Thank you, son, for the offer. How for good? It's uncomfortable. I don't even know. Artem, my grandson, do you want to live with Uncle Kolya and Soniatka?" The boy nodded his head. "Yes, I can. I like it here. And Sonia, now what, my little sister?" "That's great." Valentina breathed out a sigh of relief and said, All right then, let's try it. If my grandson doesn't mind. And for me it's only happiness to live under one roof with my son and grandson. Then at the weekend in Uvas, Nicholas quietly watched Sonia's reaction. She suddenly frowned and pressed her lips. This strained the man, apparently the fitting in of characters still to come. After all, the daughter is used to all daddy's love and his time only for her. And then some brother showed up, and her grandmother, about whom the girl had never known. But said and done, Nicholas is not used to throwing words to the wind, and soon they were all living together. Strangely enough, he and his mother got along just fine. Apparently there was still a kindred thread between them, however thin and invisible, which tied them together. But the kids often fought at first. Sonia was very jealous of Artem for his father. It was enough to get into his arms, and she immediately climbed up there with a tantrum. She followed Nicholas, not giving him a single opportunity to capture his father's attention. The girl began to divide her toys between yours and the one daddy gave me, and Artem again became sad, felt superfluous, unloved. The situation was heating up, and then Nikolai decided to take drastic measures. Sonia was a stubborn girl, as it turned out, jealous, but very responsive and honest. Kolya knew this. He could not lie and had never done so. So one day he took both kids by the hand and said, "Get in the car, both of you. Today will be a sad, but very important day for both of you. It's time to grow up. Let's go." He said this so sternly that the children fell silent the whole way. We arrived at the cemetery. The businessman led both children to his wife's grave, and he began, "Look, Artem. Sonia's mother and my wife are buried here. Now tell me, daughter, are you happy without your mother? You want her to be with you, to hold you, to caress you, don't you? How disappointing when everyone at school has a mother and you don't. Am I right?" Sonia lowered her head. "Yes, Daddy, it's true. Even though I love you a lot, more than anyone else in the world, but I miss my mommy." Artem looked at it all silently and with obvious misunderstanding. Nicholas waved, "Get back in the car. That's not all. Do not ask anything yet. Soon you will understand everything." And the man took the children to another cemetery. Everyone came out. He led them both to the fresh graves of Svetlana and Ruslan. Strictly said to his daughter, "And here, Sonia, are buried Artem's father and mother. His parents died just a month ago. You have me, and Artem has no one, understand? And you're being stupid and cruel, throwing tantrums and getting jealous. Think about how your brother feels. How does he feel? And remember, your family and you should always stick together, no matter what happens. Support, love, and respect each other. And I love you both equally, and I'll always be there for you. I'm one daddy to both of you now. Do you understand?" Artem could not stand it and cried bitterly, remembering his father and mother, and Sonia suddenly hugged him tightly and whispered, "I understand everything. Forgive me, Tonka. I will not do it again. Now we have everything in common, and toys and books. Daddy said he loves us equally. Do not cry. Here, take a candy. Karakum. It's actually my favorite, but I'll give it to you. Eat it." Artem smiled, wiped away his tears, and Nikolai sighed with relief. He actually doubted to the last minute whether the children needed such shock therapy. After all, that the children are still young. But this minute, he realized that it was all for a good reason. Now they wouldn't fight for sure. The man smiled and asked, "Well, guys, let's say goodbye to our loved ones and let them rest in peace. I suggest we cheer up and go to the pond, feed the ducks. We'll go for a walk and have some ice cream." Who's in? Children rejoiced and hurried to leave the cemetery, because it's so sad and even scary. Nicholas added, "Only about where we were with you, Grandma Vale silent. Let's not upset her. Let it be our shared secret, and about the ice cream too, because someone recently had a sore throat." All day long the three of them were walking. They were launching paper boats, and Nikolai was teaching the children to throw beautifully, with a coup de grace, pebbles into the water. In the evening, everyone ate a delicious dinner, which Valentina cooked, and talked about their adventures. The woman quietly asked, "Kolya, how did you do it?" It was like the children have changed. They became like family. Where is the jealousy gone? Oh, God forbid, don't jinx it. The businessman laughed. "I just talked to them honestly, and they heard me. After all, our guys are pretty smart." Passion had calmed down at home, and Nicholas decided to put his company in order. He purchased several video cameras and installed them in the deputy's office, in the common smoking room, and in the reception. The businessman wanted to make sure and nail Polyonov, so that he would not get away with it. No one knew about the cameras, that was the point. A week passed and Nikolai purposely came to the office on Saturday, when no one was there, and began to look through the recordings. And then the hairs on his head just moved. "Vladimir, putting his foot upside down and lounging imposingly in an armchair, was chatting on the phone with someone. "Don't shout, don't dust. Everything will be fine. Our lump coliacic doesn't suspect anything. I'll slip in these papers one of these days and I'll sign them and won't blink an eye." He trusts me and doesn't go over them. Do you know how many documents he signs in a day? So one document more, one less, he won't even notice. As soon as he signs it, it's done. It turns out that the sucker himself signed the sale of his store in the city center for a bargain price. That's it. It's a win-win for you and a vacation for me. And if anything goes wrong, we'll blame it on the secretary, Ritka. But say the woman's stupid, she typed the document wrong. It's not the first time. With that accountant, Sveta, everything went smoothly. It'll work here too. So get the glasses ready, Michael and Dravich. You owe me champagne. Nicholas came to his senses, but only yesterday, and indeed a whole pile of papers in the evening, without looking signed. Oh, the fool of the King of Heaven. Could it really sell the store, not knowing it? The man rushed to the reception, searched everything, but this document was not found. He almost cried in frustration, and then he thought to turn on the video from the reception. It showed Rita calling Alexander, manager of procurement. "Sashenka, come here. It's just like you said. I did the act of sale. You take it out of harm's way. Vladimir will be here soon, and he'll be looking for it." Just as Alexander took the deed and left, the deputy sharply entered. "Rita, is the director in? Has he signed today's papers? Can I take mine?" The girl, as if nothing had happened, replied, "Yes, of course. Everything is in the blue folder." Vladimir looked through everything and became furious when he did not find the paper he was looking for. He shouted in a voice not his own, "Rita, it's not all here. I urgently need one document. Are you sure you took everything from the signature? Or are you just daydreaming as usual?" The girl calmly replied, "You don't have to yell at me. I took everything I had. If your document isn't there, maybe the director is still looking at it. Would you like me to ask him? What is the name of the document?" But the deputy just muttered, "Don't, he's reviewing it. I'll come back on Monday." Nikolai exhaled, and even crossed himself. He immediately called Sasha. "I know everything, Sasha. Do you have the act of sale? How did you guess that it was fake?" Guy happily replied, "Yes, because I worked for you 10 years, and I understand that sell the best store in the heart of the capital. You just cannot in his right mind for 3 kopecks. So Rita and I decided to repossess it. I thought I would bring it to you on Monday, and then you decide what to do with it." Nicholas was furious. "Well, I've already decided everything. I think it's time for Polyanov to be punished for all his pranks." It turns out that this is not the first time he has been involved in such tricks. Because of him, an innocent man has suffered and died, a child has lost his mother, and he does not care. And I'd be out in the world by Monday. Oh no, the scoundrel will get what he deserves. And to you, Sasha, a special thank you. And you know what? Get ready to be my deputy. I need such loyal people, and I'll give Rita a raise. Thank you, guys, from the bottom of my heart. On Monday, Nikolai took all his evidence to the prosecutor's office, and the deputy will finally answer to the law. He was under investigation for a long time, trying in every way to avoid punishment. But you can't joke with the prosecutor's office. Nothing worked out for the cheeky guy. And Svetlana's last will was done. Vladimir received a real sentence. So now he too will taste prisoner's porridge and find out what a pound of dough it is. After all, in fact, because of Vladimir, not only Sveta suffered and died, but also his brother. In fact, he had driven himself to such an extent to save his wife, that he fell asleep right at the steering wheel. Without all this history, the family would have lived in peace and raised their son. 3 months had passed. The family lived amicably, the kids got along and became friends. But naughty kids are naughty kids, and one day their grandmother didn't look after them, and the 2 young Pathfinders decided that they were old enough to walk from school on their own. They didn't wait for their grandmother, and tricking the teacher, they went home on their own. On the way, they decided to stop by the pond along the road, in the park, and feed the ducks themselves. We got half a backpack of bread from the school cafeteria beforehand. Sonia got so carried away that she got too close to the shore. The earth crumbled, and she went tumbling overboard into the water. But it's October outside, the water is cold. The girl could not swim, began to panic, flounder, and drown. Artem threw off his backpack, took off his jacket, and with a cry, "Hold on, little sister," rushed into the water. The boy, unlike his sister, was a good swimmer, and while people ran away, managed to pull Sonia to the shore. Passers-by called an ambulance, and the boys were taken to the hospital. Nikolai was quietly working when the phone rang. Scared to death, mother shouted into the tube, "Kolenka, Trouble came from where you did not expect. I came for the kids, and they're not here. I had already had a fight with the teacher. I said, how could you let such small children go alone? And she told me they called their father in front of her, saying he was waiting for them on the porch. What should I do? Nicholas was really getting worried. He began to calm his mother. Wait, do not shout, let me think. And then another call, already from the hospital. The man was told that children were brought to the children's department, as they fell into a pond and almost drowned. The man even began to feel sick, and his heart began to beat a tap. He screamed, how did they almost drown? Are they all right? The doctor explained. Luckily, everything turned out all right, just hypothermia. But we will keep them under observation for 24 hours just in case. I'll give you the address. Come and bring all the documents for the children. What are you doing, Daddy? You'd better look after your children. The stern doctor scolded him. Nicholas and his mother gathered everything they needed and rushed to the hospital. Nicholas wailed, I'm going to kick their asses. Both of them. It's no joke to deceive a teacher. You were scared to leave on your own. They could have drowned. You could have drowned. Valentina was just groaning and holding her heart. Oh, Kolenka, tell me about it. I almost had a heart attack myself. I felt bad when everybody came out and they were gone. Don't scold them too much, who hasn't been naughty as a child? So to prevent a little. The man resolutely opened the door to the room with the most formidable look, which did not bode well. Well, seeing what the children were doing, his heart thawed. Sonia and Artem were sitting in their pajamas, cuddled under the same blanket, and they were whispering about something. Seeing her father's menacing face, Sonia jumped up bravely. Daddy, don't scold Artem. It was all my fault. So punish me. But then her nephew burst out from behind her back and started gibbering. Uncle Kolya, I am a man, so I am to blame. It was my stupid idea to go to the pond. She had nothing to do with it. Forgive us. We were so frightened ourselves. Then Sonia, without letting her father get a word in edgewise, said, You know, Daddy, Artem saved me. I was screaming and drowning, and he dragged me to shore, did not let me die. So now he's my real brother. Nikolay's heart warmed. He saw how friendly the children had become, how much they loved each other, so he changed his mind to scold them. Instead, he sat down on the bed and put them both on his lap. My God, how my grandmother and I were afraid for you, you silly children. Promise me that you will never do that again, and apologize to your teacher. She's going to get in a lot of trouble because of you. Remember, it's not good to lie. You should listen to adults. And you, Artem, are a real hero. You weren't afraid. You jumped in the water and saved your sister. In the room came into the middle-aged, pleasant woman doctor, sternly looked from under her glasses, and said, Ah, so the father is here. Well, come on, let's talk. Will you tell me how you failed to keep an eye on the children? Sonia and Artem immediately began to babble at each other. Irina Petrovna, don't scold Daddy. He had nothing to do with it. And Grandma too. It was all us. Scold us. The woman involuntarily smiled. That's a friendly family, one of the other defending. I've not seen such a thing. Nicholas listened to the doctor and could not take his eyes off the woman. She was so nice and charismatic. Though she tried to be strict, and the eyes are so kind, radiant, it is obvious she loves kids. All the time she ridiculously corrected a curl, escaping from under a medical cap, and squinted. The doctor asked, And where is the mother of the children? Why did not she come? Nicholas sighed. I had been a widower for 7 years. My wife died during childbirth, and I bring up my daughter by myself. And Artem is not my son, but my nephew. He lost his parents recently. He's an orphan. Now I want to bring him up and adopt him. Don't think that I am irresponsible. Work takes a lot of time, and my grandmother always comes to pick up the kids. The school is not far away. They are good kids, but today they decided to distinguish themselves. They made a mess of things. Are they all right? The water in the pond is cold. Irina Petrovna looked at the man very differently. Just an hour ago she was indignant. How could she let 7-year-old children go alone to the pond? And now she marveled. Like that, alone, raising 2 children? Not every woman is capable of such a thing, and even a man. In addition, the appearance of Nicholas she also attracted. Polite, intelligent. Irina Petrovna had long been divorced. God did not give children, and her husband reproached her for it and drank bitter tea. The doctor suddenly suggested, If you want, take the children home as an exception. I examined them, they are fine. And tomorrow, I'll come to your house. I'll listen to the lungs again, just in case. Nikolai smiled. He hesitated himself, did not want to leave, but did not know how to start a conversation. So happily agreed. Thank you for your understanding, Irina Petrovna. We will wait for you tomorrow for sure. The next day, Nicholas canceled all the business, did not go to work, and all day clapped in the kitchen. The children stayed at home too. Closer to 3 o'clock, Irina Petrovna finally arrived. Nicholas kippered and clattered. "Good afternoon. Come in, please, and we just got some roast chicken ready. Why don't you join us for dinner? Oh, you look so beautiful." Irina Petrovna blushed. No one had complimented her in years. "Thank you. I will not refuse. I've been on my feet all day without even a drop of poppy seed in my mouth. So where are my patients? I'll go check on them." Sonia and Artem were delighted with the doctor. They liked this pleasant, smiling woman immediately. She reeked of calmness and kindness. The children were all right. Everyone sat down to dinner. Irina ate a delicious stew with great pleasure. "Nicholas, you're really something. And the children are brought up, and so well cooked, and have a business. Not a man a dream." Valentina smiled softly, the children giggled, and the man actually blushed. He replied, "Well, the only thing missing is a hostess, and a mother for children. Irina Petrovna, would you like to go for a walk in the park this weekend? It is already a tradition for us to go for a walk, feed the ducks in the pond, and let the children go roller skating. Or are you busy?" Ira's heart was about to jump out of her chest, and she answered too hastily, "You know, I think I'll take it. It's 100 years. I haven't walked just like that, all the work and home, so I'm happy to keep you company. Do you mind if I come with my dog? His name is Baron, a poodle. Otherwise he will be bored at home alone." Kids joyfully squealed, "Certainly, bring Baron. And he knows the commands. Then we'll take the ball." The guest left and Sonia suddenly declared, slyly looking at her father, "Daddy, you should have a look at Auntie Ira. She hasn't got a ring on her finger." Everyone laughed in unison, and Nicholas thought, "Why? Maybe we should have a closer look. I don't want to be alone forever, do I? What is destiny?"